Minister of Israel, His Excellency Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and Mrs. Sarah Netanyahu. Prime Minister of Australia, His Excellency the Honourable Malcolm Turnbull and Mrs. Lucy Turnbull. Prime Minister Netanyahu will address the audience.
Prime Minister Turnbull, Malcolm, Lucy, welcome both of you to Jerusalem, and welcome to your delegations here. Malcolm, you're a true friend of Israel. Australia is a true friend of Israel. And I felt this every moment during our recent trip to Australia, from the crowds on Manly Beach to the exceptionally warm reception we received in the Central Synagogue with the vibrant Jewish community of Australia. That is a human bridge between our two countries. Sarah and I appreciated your warm friendship and the fact that you spent so much time with us, and we welcome the opportunity to reciprocate here in the land of Israel. I think our two nations understand one another in the deepest sense. We cherish the values of peace, freedom, democracy. We battle the same forces of militant Islam that threaten not only our two countries, but also our common civilization. And your personal commitment to Israel is absolutely clear. It is appreciated, warmly appreciated, by every citizen of Israel. This friendship is at least a century old, but tomorrow we mark the centennial of an enormously important event in the history of Zionism, the history of the Jewish people, and we have a long history, 4 millennia, but we can cite events, and one of these great events would not have been possible without the heroism and sacrifice of Australian troops who liberated this land from Ottoman rule, from 400 years of Ottoman rule, with tremendous courage. And it is forever etched in our memories. And the fact that you came all the way from Australia, it's a long schlep, I can tell you. It's a long trip. The fact that you came here to mark it, I think says a lot about our friendship, a lot about the deep roots between Australia and Israel, and also a lot about you and Lucy. We have to remember that this event tomorrow was the gateway to the rebirth of the Jewish people, and I look forward to marking this historic occasion with you tomorrow. I want to thank you for your unwavering support for Israel. We're going to talk upstairs about how to further that alliance even to make it even deeper, even stronger, even broader. But I want to thank you as we receive you here to use your word, which I heard in Sydney, to use your word, I thank you for being part of our mishpucha, our family. Welcome both to Jerusalem. Thank you.
Prime Minister Turnbull will address the audience.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister, Bibi, Sarah, Lucy and I are so pleased to be here. So honoured to be here. And you're right, it is a long schlep, but let me say the welcome here in feeling here at home, it feels like family. I do feel that we are part of the same mishpacha, as you said. Indeed, the warmth of your visit in February was remarkable. There was an enthusiasm, an energy that you brought with you and that excited everybody that you met. You gave some very inspiring speeches. One about at Moriah College. I remember very well, we were sitting there just like this, and I'd spoken about General John Monash. And you were called to stand up and speak, and you said to me as you got up, you said, Monash, I'll work with that. And you gave such an inspiring speech to those kids. And you talked to them about the courage of the Australians that had fought to defend the same values on which the State of Israel has been founded. the same values of freedom, democracy, the rule of law, the right to be able to live as you please and not be dictated to by others, the cause of freedom. And that is what Monash and the Australian Army fought for in the First World War. That's what Australian troops fought for in the Second World War when they fought to defend Palestine from the Nazi invaders in North Africa. As you've said, we discussed in Sydney when you were down in Australia in February. If the Germans had got to Palestine in the Second World War, there would have been no Zionist project. That we were there with you in that war, in the First World War, and of course today. There are Australians serving in the UN operations on Israel's borders, and of course more broadly in the Middle East. As you know, and as we've discussed many times, we are all fighting together against militant Islamist terrorism. It is a threat to Israel, it is a threat to Australia, it is a threat to all who value and cherish freedom. But of course, this visit, where you've welcomed us so warmly, is to commemorate the Battle of Beersheba. A moment in history of extraordinary significance, one of those turning points, one of those pivotal moments in history, when Australians and New Zealanders, their light horse brigades, swept through the Middle East and liberated Palestine and indeed Syria, all the way up to Damascus, Jerusalem and Damascus, from the Ottoman Empire, from the Turkish occupiers who, as you said, Bibi, had been occupying this part of the world for 400 years. And of course, that was the year of the Balfour Declaration. And so you can see how the courage of those Australian horsemen who'd come, many of them with their own horses, from the hills of their own farms, young men with their own horses, had come to fight in a foreign land, but yet one which was in many ways so familiar, because they shared the Bible. Every place was a household name. It was a strange environment for them to be fighting in, but also, from a cultural point of view, so familiar. It was a great victory, a great charge, the last successful cavalry charge in military history, and certainly one that rings through the ages, profoundly Australian in every respect, deeply etched in our national psyche. So Lucy and I are so honoured to be here with you today. We have many things to discuss upstairs, more contemporary battles as well. But above all, the strength of this relationship between Australia and Israel getting stronger every year. And in this year, 2017, you made the first visit of an Israeli Prime Minister to Australia, and I am visiting you here now for the first time as a Prime Minister, and the first visit of an Australian Prime Minister to Israel since John Howard visited in 2000. Stronger and stronger grow our ties, deeper and more profound than ever our commitment to the values on which our nations, our societies are based. Freedom, democracy, the rule of law. These are values we have always fought for and always will. Thank you so much for your very warm welcome.
The audience is kindly asked to stay in place. Thank you.
Okay. Are we breaking? Do you want us to swap?